From Disney to Pixar to Illumination to DreamWorks, etc. Animation is one of the most iconic movie genres out there. So today, I'm going to be ranking the top 20 highest grossing animated movies of all time as of 2023. So without further ado, let's get into it. The Lion King 2019 remake is a pretty solid remake. However, this movie frustrates me on a personal level. The animation is so realistic that it's boring. They ruin Be Prepared, and you cannot ruin Be Prepared and just get away with it. I am so sorry for your ears, but take a listen to this
Prepare for the murkiest scam.
Like, what the was that? Seriously, Disney, like, what the fuck? At least Timon and Pumbaa are still entertaining, but like, why would you ever watch this movie when the original movie is right there on Disney Plus? I don't get it. Why did this movie do so well? How is it the highest grossing animated movie? I don't know. Maybe I'm going insane. I don't know. I don't f***ing know. Despicable Me 2 is the definition of a cash grab movie, but at least I enjoyed it a lot more than this.
For the murkiest scam.
Al Macho in particular makes this a whole lot better than the Lion King remake. This movie is also where the minions are the most annoying. The purple minions are basically just the Rabbids from Rayman, but like cranked up to another level of annoyance. Also, on top of this, the movie feels like a fever dream for most of it, and I couldn't even tell what the plot was even after seeing it several times.
Oh, it's so f***ing cold!
I have mixed feelings about Frozen. On one hand, Frozen is a really good movie. On the other hand, Frozen was extremely overplayed, making this movie unbearable to watch for a long period of time. Trust me, anyone that grew up with a little sister in 2013 would know the pain. You could not escape this movie no matter how hard you try. No matter if you went to Walmart, you were listening to the radio, you could not escape this movie. Now that the popularity of the first Frozen movie has died down, I can respect Frozen for what it is. Its sequel is 1,000 times better, but we'll get to that in a bit.
Wow! Incredible!
Not.
I'm one of the few people that thinks The Incredibles 2 is a good movie, but that's the problem. It's just good. When you compare this to the first movie, and the fact that we had to wait 14 years for this, it's kinda disappointing. I know what you're thinking. If I think this is such a good movie, why is it so low on the list? 3 words: the main antagonist. Screenslaver is such a stupid ass villain. Her motive is to make superheroes legal again so she can make them illegal by sabotaging them and thinking they did the wrong. Like, what the f***? If we would have had a villain like Syndrome, this movie would at least be top 5. Oh wow, a movie based off of the origin story of these yellow tater tots made a crap ton of money? Who could have seen that coming, huh? Anyway, this movie's an extremely goofy movie. I actually enjoyed the parts with Kevin, Bob, and Stuart because I can actually understand what the f*** they are saying. There is one character in this movie, however, that makes this a lot better than the rest of the movies we've talked about so far. And it was me, Hub, the whole time. I don't even know anyone named Blurb. Every time Herb Overkill is on screen, I just can't help but smile or laugh hysterically at anything he does. He's like an older and more laid-back version of Vector from the first movie. If Herb wasn't in this movie, Minions would be dead last, if not 19. Just because nothing else about this movie stands out. I mean, I don't consider Minions to be a bad film like everyone is saying, but I don't think it's exactly a good film either.
I'm telling you, this could be the San Diego Zoo.
Zootopia is the first movie on this list that I consider to be a good movie. It's creative, it's funny, and it has a really good message. In fact, it has 2. The first being, no matter how many people tell you you can't follow your dreams, prove them wrong and make your dreams a reality. The second and obvious message is, no matter if you're prey or predator, you shouldn't be judged by your biology. This topic is extremely realistic, and sometimes uncomfortably so. I also love how the Breaking Bad references a plot to the story. The three Rams' names are Walter, Jesse, and Doug. I mean, come on, that had to have been on purpose. And the Godfather reference as well. This is one of the only few Disney movies I can think of where it targets the adults more than the kids. I highly doubt that Disney thought that kids would get these references. This is the first movie on the list I would recommend you to watch if you haven't already.
Am I a cat? I'm a dog, barf!
While putting this ranking together, I found a lot of surprises. But the one that shocked me the most is The Secret Life of Pets. And that's mainly due to the graphics. Holy shit, these graphics are next level. I mean, look at this. They perfectly captured New York in this style, and it still blows my mind to this day. This is like the best Illumination movie I've seen graphics-wise. Yeah, I know they copied the first Toy Story movie for the plot, but I don't care. I love animals. I love this movie. I don't really have much to say about The Secret Life of Pets because I don't know how to describe it. I just can't get over these graphics.
This is Sid the Sloth from the movie Ice Age, and we're about to do this new dance, the Continental Drift.
Ice Age Continental Drift, in my opinion, was the last good Ice Age movie. It's extremely entertaining in the slapstick department. Captain Gut is an extremely entertaining yet threatening foe who tries to hit Manny where it hurts by trying to kill his family. And speaking of which, Manny actually has a really good character arc in this movie. It kind of reminds me of the arc that Shrek had in Shrek Forever After. Continental Drift should have been the finale of the franchise, since the character arcs were complete.
We grew up.
Minions: The Rise of Gru was the only movie I haven't seen until I made this video. And honestly, I was quite impressed on how much of an improvement this is over the first film. I love Gru and Wild Knuckles' relationship. It was off to a rocky start with Wild Knuckles trying to kill Gru, but they eventually formed a grandfatherly bond. What caught me by surprise is that they kicked out Wild Knuckles even though he was the one that formed the Vicious Six in the first place. And if that isn't petty, I don't know what is. The only reason why this is outside the top 10 is because the Minion stuff. I know the dynamic between Kevin, Bob, and Stuart is fine still, but if Otto isn't the most annoying motherfucking minion I've ever seen in my entire life, I don't know what is. Bro doesn't know when to shut the f*** up.
I am a Stegosaurus.
Ice Age Dawn of the Dinosaurs is my personal favorite Ice Age movie, and that's mainly due to nostalgia. I watched this movie constantly as a kid because I was obsessed with dinosaurs. So looking back at this movie, I forgot how good the comedic timing is with this movie. Also, this movie has Buck Wild, which is such an entertaining and wild character that brings this movie to life. He's like a British version of Puss in Boots who literally went insane and lost his rocker. The only reason why it isn't in the top 10 is because I didn't want nostalgia to get the best of me. Overall, I think this movie is cool.
Let's kick some ice.
So here's a quick funny story about Frozen 2. I was going in the theater to see Jumanji: The Next Level, but it turns out the movie wasn't entirely out yet, so we couldn't see it. My grandpa was like, the ticket was expensive, so let's watch a different movie instead. The only other movie there that piqued my interest was Frozen 2. After waiting forever on a hot dog I ordered, I finally sat down and watched the movie with him, and we had an amazing time. And this was sadly the last movie I saw in theaters with my grandfather before he passed away. So this movie was by far the hardest to watch on the list, since it's the only movie that connects to me personally. Even without that personal touch, it's still a really good movie. And in my opinion, it's a massive upgrade from the first movie. Elsa's more of a badass. Olaf is a whole lot funnier, but the only reason why it's top 10 is because of that personal touch. Also a massive improvement on the soundtrack, which is what kept the first movie from placing any higher.
Give me 20 cc's of Music Factory. Clear.
Despicable Me 3 just barely squeaks into the top 10, and that's mainly due to how entertaining this movie can be. In fact, this used to be my favorite Illumination film, and Balthazar Brat is easily one of the best, if not the best character in the entire Despicable Me franchise. Bro was the biggest child star of the 1980s, but was rejected when he got older. Bro was so devastated by this that he became to think that he was the character that he played on TV. It's kind of like Buzz Lightyear from the first movie, if Buzz Lightyear was a villain and not a hero.
Oh, Peep! What's going on here?
You've got a friend in me?
Speaking of Toy Story, even though Toy Story 4 is not the best Toy Story, it's still a Toy Story movie. It's still emotional and funny, and I enjoy a lot of the moments in here. Although this is the only Toy Story with flaws. Like almost every single character from the original cast was stuck in the van for the entire movie, and the villain being nowhere near on the same level as the previous villains. While the ending of the movie was emotional, the concept of the ending was stupid. The whole concept of the Toy Story franchise is no matter what would happen, they would always stay together for infinity and beyond. But, this ending completely ruins that concept. In exchange with the cliche break up the iconic duo skit that has been overused at this point. Ducky and Bunny are easily the best new characters in the movie, and it's genius how they're both voiced by Key and Peele.
Do I look like I need your fish?
When it comes to Pixar sequels, the best non-Toy Story Pixar sequel easily goes to Finding Dory. We waited 13 years for this movie, but unlike with The Incredibles 2, they actually pulled it off. I don't know how he did it, but he made a sequel for The Incredibles, and somehow the one for Finding Nemo is much better. Coincidence? I think not! This was one of the few Pixar movies to put Pixar back on the map after struggling for a little bit. It's funny, it's clever, it's emotional, and visually stunning, just like the next Pixar movie, which we'll get to right now. Emotion! Have you ever looked at someone and wonder what is going on inside their head? Well, this Pixar movie answers that very question. Inside Out is, well, emotional. It's both about emotions and it is emotional. Need I say more from Bing Bong's death scene? Take me, sweet dick. Shut the f*** up! Just to be noted, the top 5 animated movies on this list are some of my favorite animated movies, and some of my favorite movies in general. And Finding Nemo is still one of the best Pixar movies Pixar's ever created. It's been 20 years since this movie came out, and it still looks impressive to this very day. You can tell the amount of sweat, blood, and tears they put into animating the water. I know that seems really simple, but realistically, it looks so darn impressive that I can't help but not love this movie. Also, Marlin's character arc in this movie is one of the best character arcs I've seen in a movie. Due to the Barracuda attack, he becomes very strict and overprotective of Nemo, and is a jerk to everyone he meets. But he becomes more and more nice as the movie goes on, learning the meaning of fun, and not having to worry about every little thing.
Oh, hello there!
It's a thong! Ow!
Okay, they did not need to go that hard on I Need a Hero, but I'm so glad they did. Shrek 2 is the only DreamWorks film on this list, and it might just be my favorite movie that DreamWorks has ever made. The message that Shrek 2 provides is somehow even better than it was portrayed in the first movie. Also, the cast in this movie is stacked. We got Mike Myers as Shrek, Cameron Diaz as Fiona, Eddie Murphy as Donkey, Antonio Banderas as Puss in Boots, Jennifer Saunders as the fairy godmother, Julie Andrews as the Queen of Far Far Away, John Cleese as the King of Far Far Away, etc. And despite Puss in Boots just coming out in this movie, he immediately gained popularity as a mainstay in the franchise. He got not just one, but 2 movies of his own. The older you get, the more funny this movie becomes. And before you argue nostalgia, I didn't really care for this movie as a kid. I didn't get most of the jokes and didn't think it was funny. But when I got older, this movie hit like a truck in the funny department and in the emotional department.
You got Steve in me.
Toy Story 3 was the first animated movie to hit $1 billion at the box office. And I can see why. This movie is a masterpiece and easily is Pixar's best work. The Toy Story franchise in general is probably my favorite animated movie franchise of all time. And I consider this movie the proper finale of the franchise. I mean, that ending speaks for itself. While I didn't grow up with Andy because the first 2 movies came out before I was born, that doesn't really matter because of how iconic and well done the story of this movie is. I would recommend you watch it, but odds are you've already seen it. I mean, if you haven't seen Toy Story 3 yet, what are you doing with your life? This movie is amazing. Go watch it. Please.
What the fuck?
Since I already went into detail on how much I love Lion King in my Disney Renaissance ranking video, I'm just gonna keep this one short. I'm just gonna pull up the footage I said in that video just because this video is already long enough as it is.
I already knew it was gonna be at least in the top 3, if not number 1. There's a reason why everybody says this is the best Disney movie ever made, if not the best animated movie in general. There's only one word to describe Lion King, and that is masterpiece. This is the movie that arguably made Disney a household name. If you ask any Disney fan which Disney movie is the first to come to mind, this is a very likely answer. Also, Mufasa's death is the saddest moment in any Disney movie ever.
Help me!
Not only is Timon and Pumbaa very entertaining, but they're very important to the main protagonist, saving his life and basically becoming father figures for him. While Scar isn't the best villain, he definitely gets the best villain song. Fun fact, Be Prepared was so grand that Jeremy Irons threw out his voice in the middle of the song, leaving Jim Cummings to finish the song.
It's me, Mario.
Call it recency bias, I don't give a I've been waiting for this movie my entire life, and it couldn't have been any better than this. The only flaw I see with this movie is how short this movie is, but that's the only flaw. Everything else about this movie is perfect and had me geeking out the entire film. I know, I was skeptical about the casting choice as well, but Jack Black fucking killed it! Bro, Jack Black as Bowser is like the perfect thing I never knew I needed. It's by far the best adaptation I've ever seen of the character, and I can't help but not love this character. As a matter of fact, Bowser in this movie is the main reason why this movie is even number 1. But another reason why this movie is number 1 is the amount of dedication it has towards its fans. Every single character is accurate towards their video game personalities, but also has a unique twist on those personalities. Peach is the biggest example of this. She went from being a damsel in distress to being a complete badass in this movie. On top of that, the soundtrack in this movie goes hard. I mean, yeah, the original score is awesome too, but also the non-original score, like Take On Me during the Donkey Kong scene, or like No Sleep Till Brooklyn during the beginnings part, they fit their scenes really well. And that's the video. Make sure you like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and I'll see you guys next time on Turbo Bowser.